Affordable Care Act had you been a justice at the time. You've been vetted, you've been screened by the Trump administration and special interests who want an activist judge. They want someone who will legislate from the bench and strike down laws supported by a vast majority of the American people. And that activism uses originalism as a smokescreen. If the American people have any doubts about how dedicated my Republican colleagues are to taking away people's health care, just listen to their own words. They've been remarkably candid and forthright. Senator Graham, our chairman, has said, "You can't repair this monstrosity," I'm quoting, "you can't repair this monstrosity called Obamacare. You have to tear it down and start over."
Totally.
Senator
Any
Ernst
programmer
said,
would tell you that.
Quote, "I support immediate action to repeal Obamacare and replace it." Senator Coney,
Simplified,
"It's time to repeal
language.
and replace." Senator Tillis,
Anybody who's read it.
"Repeal Obamacare.
Yeah.
Let's end this disaster." And President Trump himself has said, "We want to terminate Obamacare." Millions of Americans, more than 130 million, have a pre-existing condition: asthma, heart disease, diabetes, cancer, Parkinson's, pregnancy, and now, by the cruelest of ironies, COVID-19. COVID-19, the cause of this pandemic, now is a pre-existing condition that could prevent millions of Americans from being covered by health care. Stripping health care from millions of Americans during a pandemic, that's really what is at stake in the Republican lawsuit, now before the Supreme Court, and in this nomination. And sadly, it's not just the Affordable Care Act that's at stake. It's a woman's right to decide when and how to have a
Kills her
family,
baby.
control over her own body. An activist judge on the bench doing what Congress could not do would also strike down common sense gun safety laws. Connecticut has been at the forefront on gun violence protection.
Gun safety.
On gun safety, Judge, you acknowledged that your dissenting opinion in Canner sounds kind of radical. That's because it is. But if your views on the Second Amendment are adopted by the Supreme Court, it would imperil common sense state laws like Connecticut's all around the country. Today, we ought to be working on improving American health care. We ought to be fighting COVID-19, which has infected 8 million Americans and killed more than 215,000.
Name
we should
one.
be producing a national
Show me.
testing strategy, instituting effective contact tracing, and securing
We should
sufficient
just
PPE.
ignore
we will be
whatever the-
providing assistance to the millions of Americans who have lost their job and face economic hardship and heartbreak. President Trump has failed to do any of it. Instead, he and our Republican colleagues are riveted on rushing a judge through this sham process, dropping everything else. President Trump's failure to act will likely lead to 55,000 additional deaths, 55,000 additional Americans lost over just the next 3 months. Senate Republicans are refusing to address American health care or COVID-19 or economic relief because they care more about putting an extremist ideological judge on the bench and not just on the Supreme Court. I've learned as a senator that
She's
there
an
are very
extremist
few
because she's
unwritten
against the
rules,
Affordable
very few
Care
written
Act.
rules, I should say, in this place. But there is one very important
Have you
unwritten
read the Affordable Care Act?
keep your word.
I tried.
Republicans have all sorts of excuses for why they are breaking their promise, the promise that they would not confirm a Supreme Court justice during an election year. Each excuse boils down to nothing more than raw political power. They're doing it because they can. But might does not make right. They have boasted they have the votes, but they don't have the American people, and they don't have history on their side. The American people want a plan to fight and conquer this disease. They want a plan to put Americans back to work.
Did he say disc disease? Yeah.
For the future,
showing you.
not rolling back rights and turning back
How old is
the
this
clock.
guy?
I revere the Supreme Court. I clerked for Justice Harry Blackmun. I've argued
Nobody remembers that.
cases before the court 4 times.
4
Now
whole
I'm
times.
really deeply concerned that the Supreme Court is losing the trust and respect of the American people. The authority of the Supreme Court depends on that trust. It has no army or police force to enforce its decisions. The American people follow the Supreme Court's commands even when they disagree because they respect its authority. And now, President Trump and the Republican Senate are eroding and
they're
destroying
calling war?
that legitimacy. They've stripped the American people of their say in this process simply to confirm a justice who will strike down in court,
He's not looking at her.
legislate from the bench
Oh, he'll
what they can't
glance at her.
repeal in Congress.
But he's basically reading from his
Your
notes.
participation, let me be very blunt, in any case involving Donald Trump's election would immediately do explosive, enduring harm to the court's legitimacy and to your
Explosive.
own credibility. You must recuse yourself. The American people are afraid and they're angry, and for good reason.
Recuse yourself.
It's a break the glass moment. Americans must use their voices to speak out and stand up, to contact my colleagues on this committee.
So you expect her to
despite their
stand up and go,
votes
"You're right. I
about
should recuse myself
having the
based
votes.
on."
Stand up and speak out to protect their own health
I mean, she's
public
been
health
on the list for
and the health of our democracy.
a decade.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you,
They
Sen Blumenthal.
noticed her about 3
We'll
years
now,
ago.
have Senator Tillis, who's with us
When
remotely.
she was passed
After
up
his
for
opening
Judge
statement,
Kavanaugh.
we'll come back at 12:20. And Senator Hirono, you will be the first one
Lunch break.
to make a statement.